Welcome to Cultural Fluency Makers. I'm your host, David Wellish. Each week, we welcome leaders to share how they stay ahead of the ever-changing consumer landscape. With today's cultural transformation, top brands need to understand diverse consumer segments from Gen Z, Hispanic, and LGBTQ+ to gamers, wine enthusiasts, and basketball fanatics in Iowa. Their marketing strategies require them to keep the pulse on their consumers, but also their brand in the category to continue to grow revenue for the long term. Cultural Fluency Makers is sponsored by Collage Group, the only cultural intelligence engine that provides brand and consumer insights on the why that drives consumer behavior and purchase decisions. Let's get started.
Well, good morning. I am so excited for this episode and look forward to a dynamic, insightful dialogue that intersects with a huge passion of mine. We've got a special episode today with not one, but two incredible guests who are helping shape the future of the game. One has been driving strategy and analytics, building out the data and insights and research that guide long-term growth, and was even recognized as a sports business journal game changer. The other is leading the charge on global marketing, creating innovative strategies to engage fans around the world with experience spanning Fortune 100 companies, startups, and even the classroom as the author of a widely used textbook on consumer behavior, which I know something about. Please join me in welcoming Lizzie Cohen, Senior Vice President of Strategy and Business Intelligence, and Radhika Duggal, Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer at Major League Soccer. So excited to learn from you today. Welcome. So we're going to start with a very U.S.-centric view of the world. And this country has gone through a deep demographic landscape change in the past, doesn't really matter, 10, 15 years. What do you see as you think about the game and you think about engaging with consumers? What do you see as the role for cultural intelligence or even cultural insights for consumer companies and leagues such as MLS?
So, David, thanks for having us, first and foremost. I think I'll jump in and then throughout discussion, I'll have Radhika sort of layer in the marketing perspectives. Like you said, over the last couple of decades, the US has not only seen that demographic shift, but also cultural shifts where identity, language, and community have become far more dynamic. You know, for consumer brands, that means success isn't just about reaching people anymore. It's about understanding them deeply. And that's for us where cultural intelligence comes in. It's that ability to recognize, respect, and authentically engage with people's values and expressions of our diverse audience. And ultimately, it lets us use those insights to shape our products, our storytelling, and even our partnerships. So, you know, I feel very fortunate to be able to work with a CMO like Radhika, who really values data and intelligence to shape her approach. You know, that's allowed us to invest and go deeper with research and analytics more than ever that we've done before at the league office.
And David, I want to echo Lizzie's thanks to you for having us on the show. And Lizzie, thank you for that super kind segue. And I think, listen, the ability and the opportunity to work with Lizzie and her team, at least for me, as I am now at the 18-month mark in Major League Soccer, it's helped us to really understand how we can evolve our marketing practices. For a brand like Major League Soccer, cultural intelligence, it's not a nice to have. It's the growth strategy and the whole growth strategy. And it's clear that as an industry, leagues, they find growth by embedding our greatest assets, our players, into cultural moments. And the NBA, incredible example of this, where it becomes really authentic for Major League Soccer is really if you think about our clubs. You know, fans, we like to say nobody tattoos MLS on their arm one day, but not yet. They tattoo on their arm the name of the players and the clubs that they're so passionate about and then fall in love with. And the thing that I think is most unique and impressive about our clubs is that they are so deeply rooted in the cultures that they're born from. They're so deeply rooted in the cultures of the community. Your brands are a literal love letter to those communities, and they embody the spirit of the people that live there, the food. it's just incredible to go to a stadium and see the entire culture of the community come to life around a soccer match. And that credit for that, for building that cultural fluency, it really goes to our club marketers and our club strategy teams and our club analytics teams who work together so nicely to build that experience.
Well, thank you very much. I love the yin and yang here. This is gonna be this is gonna be fun. So the landscape is getting more complex. Consumers are more fragmented, more polarized. Diversity, politics aside, is driving so much so much growth, and yet complexity rises. The role of cultural intelligence is to deeply understand so that you can deeply engage. What's hard? What's hard about this? What's challenging?
I can give it a shot, and then Lizzie will pile on. Listen, as important as being so deeply rooted in culture is, to your point, it's really hard for marketers for a couple of reasons. Marketers are trained to look for consistency and scale and clear narratives, and culture just doesn't work that way. It's not so clean. It's messy and it's hyper local and it's constantly evolving. So that's sort of thing number one. Thing number two is, in sports, we're not just marketing a product, we're marketing a thing that's so core to people's identities, right? Who you're a fan of, whether a player or a club, some of those things are passed down through families and generations, and it's so emotional. Fans live and breathe their passion. And so if we misread that passion, or something we do from a marketing perspective comes off as performatory, people know, and we'll get the backlash for it. So that's thing two. And then the third thing is, at the league level, it's especially hard because what's relevant in LA might not be relevant in Austin or Atlanta. And even though it's with the same sports fan base. So it's hard because marketers are trained to look for consistency or marketing something that's so deeply rooted in people's identity. And at the league level, we've got to think about this on a national scale, but culture is truly hyper-local.
I think for me, David, the hardest part is avoiding simplification. Culture isn't this box to check. It's living, it's layered, and it's constantly evolving. There's also challenges of scale. Like, how do you stay authentic to communities while operating in this national league with global ambitions? That's where local partnerships, grassroots activations, and our club level insights become really critical in helping us guide our business forward. For us too, cultural fluency also requires humility. The willingness to say, we don't actually know everything all the time, but we're learning. And, that mindset has to be baked into the way that both Radhika and I lead and how we measure success. And that's when we lean on value partners like Collage to collaborate with experts across key verticals and really have that ability to pressure test our ideas before we go to market. Ultimately, we like to say it's a mixture of both art and analytics. You've got to use your intuition, but guided by insight.
I love that. Love that. Thank you. You've said so many great things so eloquently. Scale, evolution, hyperlocal, humility. I mean, that's a nice playbook already. When you think about cultural fluency and cultural intelligence, is it both on the consumer marketing side as well as the advertising sponsorship side? What do you see in that space? And do you feel like you're we talked about what's hard about this. Do you feel like the tools out there, the partnerships out there, are serving brands well in this space? Two separate questions.
So your first question was, do you feel like it's equally the same on the consumer marketing versus the sponsorship side? And I actually don't love the idea that we might look at those two things different. Sponsors tap in to brands like Major League Soccer, leagues like Major League Soccer, and our clubs because they want access to our incredible consumer base. If we grow that consumer base, grow our affinity within that consumer base, grow consideration, grow brand love and passion, sponsors will come and be part of that. So I really think that it's really one and the same. Focus on the consumer, understand what culture means in their mind, and make sure the cultures we're creating around our clubs really resonate with those consumers. And then the second thing you said is really around tools and did we really think that the tools that are kind of out there are enabling us? That one, I think, probably falls a little bit in Lizzie's domain. But one thing I will say is, at least to me as a marketer, more importantly than the tools are having an incredible partner in Lizzie and her team. I've worked in a lot of places, in a lot of different kinds of places. And geez, just having the benefit of really strong market researchers, which fall under Lizzie's purview, really strong analytics partners, which fall under Lizzie's purview, and really smart sort of medium-term strategists. That to me is more valuable than any tool. I know that she might have a different perspective because the tools enable her team, but I'll say as a marketer, just having the door to knock on is infinitely valuable.
Yeah, I think to add to that, David, I totally agree with Radhika. I do think at the end of the day, what our value partners are looking for is a growing, engaged fan base. And that is 100% what my team is set up to measure and to drive and ensure success in. We do have separate groups here at the league. We do have a more revenue commercial driven sort of measurement and reporting team, but we work hand in hand with them. And so the syndicated tools that we use are very similar. We may set up different custom studies because at the end of the day, we're delivering a different purview, a different business question, but we collaborate a lot. We are focused on the same thing. And ultimately, the strategy that we're building here is what they're out in the market selling. So a lot of synergies between the two there.
That is wonderful. And again, what a luxury to have you both, both here, because it is really such an important partnership. And I love the mastery of the art and the science. I couldn't agree with you more, that ultimately, in some ways, one rents the engaged audience, right? Like you first engage the audience, and then that then gets to be partnered out to, to partners and sponsors and having been to many World Cups, what a year it will be. I mean, it's like it's so exciting to wait for the moment. I wanted to ask this question. I've had the privilege of moderating many roundtables, and given what we do and what Collage does, we're around marketers and insights professionals all the time. And when I ask the question, how important is it to be culturally relevant? The answer is always, oh gosh. I mean, it's critical. If you wanna win hearts and minds of consumers, it's absolutely critical. My question to you both is, can you define cultural relevance? What is cultural relevance or cultural fluency to you? And how do you think you become one in the marketplace?
We think about cultural relevance in that incredibly hyper-local way that our clubs do. Because again, I think that the fact that our clubs are so deeply rooted in their local market cultures is such a competitive advantage for us. And you really can see this. I've had the benefit of going and visiting a number of our stadiums and seeing a number of matches live and in person. And you can see this in so many ways. You see it in the supporter culture, the tifos and the chants and the community-led traditions that make every single club distinct. You see it in how we spotlight our players as multidimensional whole people. We have series like Breakaway, for example, that we run across our owned channels. And the goal of that really is to show the culture that's so deeply rooted in the passion that our players have. And how they grow as people over time. You can see culture in that. And you can see how we show up in broad scale brand advertising. For example, this year with Grammy Award-winning artist Doechii to kick off our 2025 season, and our iShow Speed to highlight our All-Star Week. From a marketing standpoint, we're so focused on understanding, documenting, and aligning on our brand strategy, and then driving awareness through those that are endemic to the sport, through our supporters, through Doechii or Speed, who are former soccer players or soccer lovers, and through our players. So for us, cultural relevance comes from understanding our identity and embracing what is so authentic to our sport, which are our supporter groups, our players and influencers who love the sport itself.
Thank you. Lizzie, do you want to add anything to this?
Absolutely. I totally agree with Radhika there. The key to cultural relevancy for us, not only at League, but our clubs, are to just really deeply understand our audience. There's so much diversity. If you think about the 28 markets we're in, the 30 clubs, they are so, so different. So what makes Radhika's jobs very, very difficult, but fascinating at the same time, is how do we strike that right chord from a national standpoint, but then really mirror and synchronize with our clubs to be able to go deeper and really resonate with our local communities as well. So it's a really fine balance and juggling act that she does there. And that's really where the cultural intelligence comes in, to be able to support her and provide her with that toolkit and toolbox to be able to go to market in an effective way. I think the one thing that's so important about our sport that she touched on, and our league in particular, is the diversity of our player pool. And more than ever, as we think about our brand marketing and just connecting and resonating with our fan base, our players are so, so, so important. And so we are really fortunate to be in a place where we can really connect and build player profiles and really be able to make sure that every single fan out there can identify with someone and feel that connection from a cultural relevance standpoint as well.
It is a balancing act, and it's not easy. And I so agree with you. How do you strike this balance between local and scale at the same time? And in many ways, because we work with so many brands, we see it in the brand world as well. It is such a striking balance, and but it's to your point, Liz. It's also an exciting analytical puzzle. It's challenging, and I think the upside is huge, and I think the upside is huge in this country for the sport. All right, so AI. How could we have this conversation and not talk about AI and not just mention the word? How do you see that evolving and impacting your work? What's evolving? What's making an impact? What's different? Would love your thoughts.
Absolutely. We use AI at the league to really enable that deeper connection with our fans. It's not about replacing that connection. It's a means to an end and not the end itself. We have an incredible CTO here at the league that we're partnering with to really determine, how can we best utilize AI to enhance our brand experiences? And, today we're focused on things that can really help elevate both the fan experience itself, but also speed to market. So examples are personalization through segmentation, having that deeper insight on targeting, allowing for Radhika and the team to have easier copy and creative production. We're making sure that we're providing better, faster match highlights and recaps in a really fun and innovative way as well. So we're first to market. We're serving our fans with content the way they want it and when they want it. For our broadcasts, it's about providing enhanced analytics and insight tools to integrate into our live feeds, so that our fans can get these real-time predictive odds and win probabilities throughout the game. And most recently, our new MLS app has been built on AI, so serving fans with personalized content and context, things that they really care about to themselves, but in real time as well. As you've said, we all know the space is just rapidly advancing each and every day, and the possibilities are absolutely endless in which we can develop smart solutions to keep our fans engaged and fresh in interactive and exciting new ways. Personally, I can't wait to see how the advancements are going to be made over sports and entertainment over the next couple of years. I feel like every week you look around the corner and there's something really new and exciting out there. Sure, Radhika's got a few things as well she can add.
From a marketing perspective, we are so focused on thinking about the entire marketing lifecycle and trying to figure out across that lifecycle, where are the pain points and how could AI help us to ameliorate some of those pain points? And so we're working with our Center of Excellence and our incredible technology team to make sure that we are doing that in a very thoughtful way. What's the gamut of opportunities across the marketing lifecycle, and how do you prioritize? So we've already launched a couple of advancements on the creative side and the editorial content side, and we're incredibly excited to be able to say, okay, these are things that are benefiting the league, but how do we help our clubs benefit from that as well? The reality is we have 31 marketing organizations at Major League Soccer, so anything that benefits us can benefit us literally 31 times. And we're incredibly excited to try to take some big swings and then help our clubs kind of benefit from those big swings as well. And then the last thing I'll say is, I think there's, particularly for marketers, a lot of just anxiety around the use of AI. Here at the league, and I'm sure in most businesses, marketers are constantly asked to do more with less. In my mind, there's no better way to equip our team, to make our teams feel like they have more bandwidth, to make our teams feel like instead of versioning the same graphic over and over again, which, by the way, is not a graphic designer's dream, help them pick themselves up out of that and let them really use that creativity that probably pushed them into that field and that discipline in the first place. So I am so excited to look at that end-to-end audit and to help our team be able to pick themselves out of maybe some of the things that are a little bit repetitive and enable them to have just the time and energy to be a little bit, to be incredibly strategic and incredibly creative, because that's why marketers choose market.
I can feel the excitement. It's palpable, which is great. We at Collage, we just released our first AI solution, and it's incredible just to see the difference. Because we have so much proprietary data, our clients through AI are discovering the data and the implications and the takeaways so much faster, so much easier. So I think you're totally right, which is, hey, maybe it's a way to just have more fun and use the best ways of ourselves to have an impact. Great. Let's talk a little bit about MLS and the World Cup. So MLS has some of the most exciting stadium environments in all of sports, with incredibly passionate fans. With the work your team's doing developing strategies for marketing plans and activations, is there any content or programming you are seeing that is resonating well with your audiences?
I think it makes sense and is helpful to ground that question and that answer in how we think of the goal of the league. And we are really focused as a league on upper funnel brand development, brand interest, and growth at that level. As we talked about earlier, nobody tattoos MLS on their arm, right? So we've got to spend our time, energy, and effort building scale at the top of the funnel, and then helping our clubs harness that scale to build fandom, because consumers are fans of clubs and they're fans of players. And so if I ground this thought in this idea of upper funnel brand development and brand interest, there's a couple of types of content that we are seeing seem uniquely qualified to enable us to hit those goals. First is content on social. Social has just been an incredible channel for us. It's a credit to our amazing social team. I can't say enough great things about the folks on our team who travel to matches, who cover each match with such care and thought and authenticity, so that consumers can see highlights and scores and across our channels. But social content has performed really well for us. In fact, we just passed 2 million subscribers on YouTube because we put time, energy, and effort and thought and just incredible staff against it. And we're excited for the growth trajectory to come there. I think it's content with creators and celebrities. Again, thinking about that upper funnel growth, folks who are endemic to the sport but have their own following, like I Show Speed, for example, who highlighted our skills challenge at our All-Star game this past July, like Dochi, who opened up our season for us with our MLS is Back campaign. They're endemic to the sport. They're either huge fans or former soccer players, but they have reach, and we can use that reach to pull more folks into our ecosystem incredibly well. And then third parties. So a Bleacher Report, a 433, et cetera, places where our consumer is going to consume sports content. These pieces of content that are on these third-party platforms also help us to reach that goal of upper funnel growth. So social, creator and celebrity content, third-party content, anything that helps us drive that upper funnel brand growth is really where we're focused.
Fantastic.
Just to add to that, David, I mean, I think Radhika touched on it. It's all about that omni-channel approach these days. We've got to be showing up where our fans are. And so really providing Radhika and our content team with as much intelligence as possible to say, this piece of content works really well on this platform is key. Different people, different platforms, or same person, same platform, but expecting a different experience. We have to be really tailored today And so I'm doing a lot more to understand what our fans want and where they want it. Simple example, using our players differently. On an Instagram, for example, we see our star players doing super well, lean into it. But for a TikTok, they might want to have more stories on up and coming players. So just a lot of intelligence in real time having to be funneled back to make sure that we're servicing the fans the way that they want to be serviced.
I mean, it is not just complex on the consumer side, but it's complex on the channel side. And then matching the consumer to the right channel is probably both an art and a science. And I do think that intelligence must guide the different choices that are made. But that's changed in the last 5 years. This is what every brand is going through. I think in your world, it's even more important.
I would just add on to that. We have the benefit, and this is thanks to Lizzie and her team, of having the opportunity to either have or build just best-in-class analytics tools. And again, coupled with the best-in-class analytics team members, because the tools don't do anything for a CMO without the team members. Best in class, at least in relation to places I've seen. And I gotta tell you, it is so exciting for us as marketers to be able to work with Lizzie's team, who's put in a lot of energy and effort into building these tools, so that we can just understand the impact of the work we're doing. We can understand which channels to invest in and at what level, how to pivot quickly. I think in some industries, I might have taken that for granted. I don't take it for granted here. I know it's not as common in sports. And I just think huge kudos to Lizzie and her team for helping us build those tools and helping us use those tools every day, because it makes our plans and our dollars go much further.
That's great to hear. And Lizzie, congrats. I mean, marketing analytics is so critical, given the complexity that we live in. All right. And we're gonna end this section by talking about the World Cup. So the 2026 FIFA World Cup will mark one of, if not, I think, the biggest moment in the history of North American soccer. Given what this tournament can mean for MLS, if we're having this conversation a year from now, what are you hoping you would have accomplished once we're done with this incredible milestone?
Well, first of all, I think we should have this conversation a year from now.
We're booking it.
Excellent. See if this prediction comes through. So I'd say first and foremost, we're going to take a big swing next year, and we couldn't be more excited about it, particularly because we have confidence that if we take that big swing to the conversation we were just having, we now have the analytical capability to make sure that we are taking the right big swing and to pivot when things aren't working exactly as we want them to be, because nothing ever goes exactly 100% according to plan. So that's good. Big swing powered by thought and strategic partnership and analytics. And our goals are really focused on two things. Number one, growing interest in Major League Soccer. And number two, growing viewership. We know when people give us a try, when they watch us in stadium or they watch us on our incredible broadcast, we know that they fall in love. So those are our two goals, interest and viewership. And what I hope that you see from us in just a couple of months is a campaign across the year for 2026 that has several tentpole moments that tell the real story of the stars of our league, who are our players. As we've been talking about throughout this, it is really our players that if a consumer can connect to those players, if they realize who they are and the quality of those players, and the fact that they play in the World Cup alongside the world's best soccer players, that's what drives interest and therefore viewership in our league. So we're excited for you to see that big swing campaign that starts to kick off next year when MLS is back in February, and we'd love to share more.
Yeah, I mean, this is truly going to be a generational opportunity for the sport of soccer as well as Major League Soccer. And we are so excited. We've been planning this for years now. Radhika and team have got some incredible plans. I can't wait for you all to see this. That is going to really light up the league. But what I will say is just because the global game's going to be here doesn't make it easy. I think with the proliferation of streaming over the last few years, the competition, the international soccer competition is bigger than ever domestically, both in the US and Canada. And so really it is so important. And thank goodness Radhika and the team has a really intentional plan working hand in hand with the clubs to really go after this opportunity. Both in the local markets, you'll see a lot of our clubs in our host markets really show up and make sure that we can turn the global party into an MLS party when the big circus comes and leaves. But yes, it's about breaking through. It's about having the right collaborations. It's about really connecting ourselves to the game. And as Radhika said, we're so fortunate to have so many players that are going to be participating. It really provides us with that thread to the World Cup. But we're thrilled. We're so excited. And there's so much that we can do that we're going to be unleashing very, very soon to the market.
I can't wait to see, growing up, as I said, in Latin America, these events stop. They stop the economy. They stop everything. And what an opportunity. I love the big swing. Anything we can do to help with the big swing, I think is a fantastic analogy. And sure, how do you leverage this moment for interest growth in the sport? Seems like I can't even wait to have this conversation the year from now to discuss. And then finally, I love this notion about humanity, that ultimately, using the players and connecting to humanity and to the human story, it always works. All right. So this portion we learned from you. We just want to take a few minutes and learn a little bit about you. And you can decide who answers, if both want to answer. But there are three really quick questions. The first one is, what inspires you every day? What inspires you to do what you do?
I have a different answer now than I would have had 5 years ago. My daughter was born 5 years ago. And the entire source of my ambition these days is her. I want her, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, I want her to realize she can do anything she wants to, whether she wants to work in sports or be a magician or raise a family or any of those things all at the same time. So the entire source of my ambition these days is a little 5-year-old person who I can't seem to get enough of.
Love that.
My head went to exactly the same place, Radhika. I have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, and absolutely my inspiration every day is to be that role model and show them that you can do everything if you put your mind to it. I think beyond that, from a business standpoint, the inspiration for me is I've been here for 11 years now, absolutely love the league. I believe in our mission. And something that we say here a lot is about making Major League Soccer the league of choice in this country. And I feel so passionately about that. And we've talked about the World Cup. We've talked about huge tailwinds coming up. This is our moment. This is our opportunity. And that is very inspiring for me to be a part of that engine as well.
I love that. You guys are lucky. I've got 3 kids. We were talking with Lizzie. We're in different shifts, but they still drive me on a daily basis. And this question will be actually for the young audiences that are really trying to figure out careers. So if you could travel back in time and give your 20-year-old self advice, what would that be?
I would say 2 things. I would say first, know what's important to you. I was chatting with a former student of mine on my way to work this morning and trying to help her sort out, as she's looking for a job, to think about this career path or this career path. And it all just comes down to you make those decisions by having crystal clarity on what's important to you. I have a list of 9 things that are important to me because I'm crazy and they're ranked by order, but I know what's important to me. They change over time, different places I've worked or different phases of my life, but I am so crystal clear on what's important to me. And then the second thing I would say is there's no substitute for doing the work. It's kind of a downer, but it is the reality. Like, Lizzie is one of the hardest working people I know. I have so much respect for her. I love that I can pick up the phone and call her literally anytime and she will answer and she will have a thoughtful answer. When I look at role models like her and others across the league office, the thing that underlies all of them is that they're willing to put in the time.
Do the work. I love that.
So my answer actually proves how I am the yin to Radhika's yang, because my head went in the opposite direction to number 1. I would actually say it's okay if you don't know coming out of school. You will figure it out. And I think a lot of the times people put a lot of pressure on themselves to know it, to know where they want to be 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road. I think thinking about myself, I actually started off in finance at a hedge fund. When I knew I wanted to break into sports at the time, I thought it was in sales. Now I'm here. I would be terrible at that. I've definitely found a better seat for me, but I think it's okay. I think it's okay that you know, to your point, Radhika, you have some guide rails and some milestones that you want to go for, but it's okay if they change along the way. And it's about figuring out what resources, what tools are going to help you as you find that next step on your journey. But I'm with you. It's all about hard work. It's about attention to detail. It's about putting in those hours to really, really get yourself on that ladder and prove yourself to everyone around you that you are a really important contributor that they can't do without. So definitely agree with number 2, a slight nuance to number 1 there.
I clarified number 1 is less about knowing what job you want and knowing the things in the job that are important to you. So the number 1 thing on my list of 9 things is I want to work for the best leader. The number 2 thing on my list of 9 things is I don't want to travel 50% of the time. Those are just non-negotiable, the 2 most important things to me. So that's what I mean. I think it's really hard if you're sort of newly graduating or early in your career. You're so tempted to make choices based on some of the shiny objects in a job description or that a company throws at you. You got to know what you want and what's important to you, but not necessarily, to Lizzie's point, exactly what job will enable that.
Those are kernels of wisdom. Clarity, hard work, learn as you go. Kernels of wisdom. I want to take the opportunity to thank you both. Really, really appreciate your candid perspective. Appreciate you spending time with me and our audience. And so thank you. And good luck in what's going to be an incredible year for the world of soccer in North America. And I'm sure for you guys. And we're going to book exactly a year from now so you can share with us all of your successes.
Love that. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. And this has been another exciting episode of Cultural Fluency Makers. See you next time.
That's a wrap on another episode of Cultural Fluency Makers. Thank you for joining us. Please share your comments and what you would like to hear more about. Be as specific as possible. For show notes and more, please visit culturalfluencymakers.com. This show is proudly sponsored by Collage Group, unleashing the power of cultural intelligence to fuel brand growth. Please follow Collage Group on LinkedIn, and we will see you next week.